be with all of you here this morning to share this talk with you. It's really been wonderful over the past month or so to see the expansion of consciousness that's really occurring within many people. It's wonderful to be able to see people just growing better, kinder, nicer, living life in a sense to the very best of their ability. So as we continue to see this consciousness expand, it's wonderful to be with people who are actually living this way and really, in a sense, bringing this energy into manifestation. With that thought in mind, the particular title of this month's lesson is entitled The Common Experience, Part 2. So those of you who were not here for Part 1, let me try to give a brief little resume of Part 1, and then we'll move into Part 2. In last month's teaching, it was entitled Part 1, The Common Experience. We talked about the notion that there's a shift that's occurring within many people. Many people really are beginning to feel very, very deeply that they're experiencing something different about their identity. This shift in identity, in seeing themselves, they see themselves not so much as a limited human anymore, but people are beginning to feel very, very deeply that they really are an expanding eternal soul. There is just something about themselves that is quite different in the way that they really live life. They're beginning to see themselves and to experience themselves more than just a nice person, more than just a nice guy or a nice gal. They're beginning to see themselves as I'm a little bit different. I'm not who I used to be or who I thought I was. And what's very interesting is the fact to find that there are many people now who are beginning to experience themselves this way. It's not just one individual or another individual, but we're beginning to have a common experience that many of us feel this way. There's a new sense of who we are and how we act in the world. Paramahansa Yogananda would call this the second coming of Christ. The first coming may be a few avatars who are like this, but nowadays we have people like you and me, who are really bringing this energy to bear. We're different. Things have changed as to how we see ourselves and how we act. I don't know if you've ever considered yourself to be the second coming of Christ, but I think we qualify, and we'll talk more about that as we proceed. But the second aspect of what we shared last week was that this point of being different is not just an experience that many people are having, but their experience has really led to a different expression. It's not just that they're having this experience, but they've begun to live this way. When they get up in the morning, their primary thought is to bring this awareness into manifestation here on the planet. They're eager to do it. There's a passion of getting up and saying, I want to live this way. As we like to say, this awareness of that God Spirit within us is now becoming our normal way. It's the new norm. It's natural. It has become our all the time, eyes opened, walking around in the world, state of self. And it's just wonderful to be with people who see it this way. Not only that they experience themselves differently, but also they're living differently. It's a neat thing. Eckhart Tolle said that, well, there's a new species developing on the planet, and it's arising now, and we are it. And you start thinking, well, maybe that's true. Maybe I'm part of that new species. I see myself differently. I'm living differently, and I know a lot of other people who are doing the very same thing. It's wonderful to have an experience within yourself that is shared by others, and to see this, in a sense, evolving among many, many, many souls. Well, that was the common experience, part 1. So what we'd like to do today now is to move into the common experience, part 2. I want to make a brief introductory comment and then talk about 4 barometers or 4 qualities that I think we're learning to live and manifest in our lives. First of all, the introductory comment. This shift in identity, this shift in identity, which has given us a shift in experience and in expression, as we're experiencing this shift in identity and expression is not the end game. This shift in identity and expression is not the final goal. But I think the most important thing for us to realize is that this shift in how we experience ourselves and how we express ourselves is the stepping stone in our evolution. This is the way that we're going to be going forward. This is the technique of the future. It's not as though, well, now we've arrived. But quite frankly, what it boils down to is that what we have arrived to is now the way that we're heading forward. I just think that's such an interesting thing for us to understand, that we haven't got to that final place, but rather we have come to that way of knowing how we're going to go forward. And as we go forward from this day on, I just feel that more and more of us will go forward in this way. We will see ourselves as expanding souls. We are here to bring awareness into the planet. We haven't come to the end. If anything, we've come to the beautiful new beginning. It's the new way of going forward. In our earth experience, because of this, is a lot more fun. It's not nearly the struggle it used to be, because we're not struggling as we used to struggle. There's just a clarity within us. We see things differently. We live differently, and our lives are different. There are 4 differences that I especially want to share with you all here this morning. And hopefully these 4 differences might be helpful to you to be able to see yourself maybe in these barometers in ways that might be helpful and uplifting to you. The first thing that I would want to suggest to you is that while each one of us has changed more or less, I think we all realize that if we would get up in the morning and look at the person in the mirror, the person we see in the mirror is a little different than we saw in the past. Let me just suggest these things to you. My suggestion to you is that there is the newer you that is really coming forward. This newer you, there's a lot of it on the inside, but there's a lot of it on the outside. And these are the changes that I primarily see. Just see if they apply to you. You're probably nicer and kinder. You probably smile a lot more. Less inclined to be judgmental, criticizing of others. More supportive, more encouraging to others. You're kind of done with the old you, that you're living each day more from that newer place within you. Sometimes you radiate that essence. Sometimes you're like, remember St. Francis would say, preach the gospel, and if you have to use words, use them. Very seldom now do you have to use words. You just show up in your absolute best self. Few, if anything, really upsets you anymore. You don't whine and complain the way you used to whine and complain. You're just different. You just live life from a different place within you. And might I say that you're pure. You feel pure within yourself. You know that you're better. It's not that you don't just have those old thoughts every once in a while, but you know deep down that you really are better. You're purer within yourself. And if you would look at yourself in the mirror, 2 things maybe you begin to ponder. Who is the person that I was formerly? Because it doesn't seem like the reflection coming back to me was a person that I kind of saw in the past. I am different. And then you kind of say to yourself, that's something that's really interesting. As you look at that person in the mirror looking back at you, you just wonder, well, am I a part of that new species? Am I really different? Am I changing? Or as Barbara Marx Hubbard said, am I more of a Godling rather than an Earthling? Just a very interesting notion. Something is just different about ourselves, and we see that difference occurring. The second thing I would suggest to you, It's a very, very interesting thing, is the fact that it's not only do we see ourselves differently, but now we have a passion of living differently. There's a passion of living differently. And let me try to tell you exactly what I mean by it. I think for most of us, when we get up in the morning, our first thought is not the coffee and it is not the agenda of the day. The first thought for most of us before we get out of bed is, how can I bring awareness to the planet? How can I live joyfully today? It just seems to me that it's wonderful to be with a group of people whose conscious intent upon awakening is not about the little me, but whose conscious intent is to bring awareness into the planet. It just seems to me that it's fun to be this way and to have passion, to just not say, well, that would be nice, but to be passionate, to really like to do this. And my belief, I think, that we like to do this comes from two basic reasons. The first one is, you're happier. You're just happier. It's nice to be nice. It's never boring to be nice. It's never boring to be kind. Paramahansa Yogananda said it, when you're in the awareness, the energy is always fresh. It's always new. And that's what we're beginning to feel. It's always fresh. It's always new. It's fresh and new here right now. It was fresh and new driving up Route 11. It'll be fresh and new when we meditate. It'll be fresh and new with coffee and cake. The energy is fresh and new. There's a joyfulness within us. It doesn't mean the life is always simple, but we just know we can handle it. There's just a joy to life. And you kind of feel it within yourself. You become exuberant sometimes. You just smile. You're happy. There's just something about life that it didn't seem to be there before, but it's there now. And you almost get giddy sometimes because you feel good for no particular reason, except for the fact that you feel good. But in addition to the joy, what is extremely interesting is that for many of us now, this joy not only feels right within ourselves, but what becomes extremely interesting is that this joyful presence is very powerful. It's very powerful. It is also the basis for our success as well as our joy. So that whenever we're doing something, we know that there's a guidance that is coming from within. And this guidance from within, we see clearly what it is that we are to do, whether it's personally, relationally, in business, society, whatever it might be, we kind of know now what we are to do. There's a clarity about direction and an empowerment that comes from within. You can't help but be passionate when you feel happy and successful. And we used to think, well, things are going so well, so when is it going to happen? Now, it just doesn't seem like there's an it that's out there to happen. You begin to realize that this is my state of being. This is the way that I'm going forward. And if anything, you might have to just watch that you don't get too exuberant, that you don't jump out of your skin, but that there's a clarity of going forward with a sense of confidence that is built with joy and success in this way of living. Which now brings me to the third point. The third point that is quite interesting is the fact that it almost feels like we're becoming part of something bigger. For a long time, it was always about me, or kind of the little me. But now we're beginning to realize that I think I'm part of something bigger. And I think the reason why you feel you're part of something bigger is because you are a part of something bigger. You're a part of something bigger. The big difference is, people would always tell you you were a part of something bigger. But now you begin to feel that you're a part of something bigger. It's not just that something out there kind of has your back. It's not just that something out there will always guide you and somehow you'll be taken care of. But now you seem to know that that which is out there is also within you. And you begin to realize that you're part of the universal energy that is manifesting in life. And that you are a participation in the cosmic energy that really, in a sense, runs the universe. Did you ever think you would say, I'm part of the universal cosmic energy that runs the universe right here on the planet? I think that's what many of us are beginning to feel. We feel that we're part of something bigger because we are a part of something bigger. We don't see ourselves so much as limited humans, but we do see ourselves as expanding souls. And never, 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 never do we ever say again, I'm only human. Which brings us then to our fourth point. What becomes extremely interesting is the fourth basic observation, and that is the notion that it seems to me that for many of us now, we have made a decision that the Course in Miracles encourages us to make. The Course in Miracles is a wonderful, wonderful book of spiritual inspiration and guidance. And the Course says, eventually, you only have one decision to make, and that is, you must learn to decide to take your rightful place as co-creator of the universe. You must learn to decide to take your rightful place as co-creator of the universe. And again, you start thinking to yourself, my gosh, did I ever think of myself in this way? Because most of the time, I just found it hard enough taking care of myself, being a conscious creator of me, let alone a conscious creator of the universe itself. But all of a sudden you begin to realize that that bigness within you, it not just sounds right, and it not just feels right, but it's a presence within you that you are eager to do, that you want to do. And you're beginning, in a sense, to feel and act the way that you've always wanted to feel and act, being a conscious co-creator of the universe, with this difference. This difference is a very, very important difference, because you can now verify that you are a conscious creator of the universe in this way. The Course in Miracles also says, child of God, you were created to create the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Child of God, you were created to create the good, the beautiful, and the holy. You can now verify that you are a conscious creator of the universe, because is it not true? Is it not true that you bring forth the good, the beautiful, and the holy? It's kind of nice to feel that, well, you know, this is true. I can verify that I have taken my rightful place as a co-creator of the universe, because each day I'm happy, eager to bring forth the good, the beautiful, and the holy. We're living differently. We're living differently. It was slow maybe at the beginning, a little faster lately, and now it seems like there's no end in sight. It does seem like there's a new species, and it does feel like I'm a part of that species. I am excited, and it's fun to be with others who are excited. And it's good to know not only what I'm doing, but it's good to see its verification. And most of all, it's really nice to be with other wonderful souls. It's just nice to be with other wonderful souls for whom this is not a pipe dream, for whom this is the way we see ourselves. It's the way we act. It's the way we come forward. We're happy. We're strong. We're powerful. Almost giddy at times with joy. Let me conclude by saying that one of our members in Columbus, at our recent meeting there, she just said something that was rather interesting. She said, Vince, these principles we talk about and so on, when I get up in the morning, I don't even think about them anymore. I've just become them. And that's the way I live. I just think for many of us, well, we still might have to think about them every once in a while. But for many of us, it's what we become. It's the way we live. And we do feel more like a Godling rather than an Earthling. We do. We do feel we're different. We see that person looking back in the mirror is a lot different than who we saw in the past. And we just know that we're with others on this evolutionary pathway of truly manifesting, bringing into form the goodness, the beauty, the power of our creating energy itself. This is part 2. One more to come. Part 3 next month. So with that in mind, let me bring you into meditation. As we now prepare to meditate, I ask that you first of all just set your intention, that you just really want to use this time as an opportunity to truly grow. I just ask that you fully commit yourself to these few moments of inner awareness. Please set your intention. Let us now begin the meditation by just settling ourselves, just taking a few breaths or reciting a mantra, just anything that helps you to physically relax, especially to clear out your mind, and just to be peaceful, to bring your soul to the fore. Please settle yourself now by whatever technique is helpful to you. Please begin. And just a few more breaths to settle yourself, just becoming more and more peaceful, especially emptying out your mind and just feeling that presence within you, your God Spirit, your I Am presence, bubbling up from your center. Move into that peaceful you. Our meditation will have 3 points today. The first one, it's true, I have changed. I've changed. It's true I'm nicer and kinder, wiser, more helpful. But I've changed beyond that. I've changed inside. I am pure. I'm pure. I know what that means. I know what that means for me. I'm pure inside. I've always wanted to be pure, but it's been hard. But now, the density, the impurity, seems to be dissolving. I'm really a better me, of which I'm proud, from my inside. I am pure. Let us proceed to the second point. That difference between an earthling and a godling makes a lot of sense. Perhaps you are like many in this room. You kind of felt like you never fit in to a lot of the earthly things. It's not that you didn't navigate okay through them. You did, as well as you could, but somehow you knew they were just never you. And the notion of being a godling, of being pure within, and being yourself and showing up as your wonderful self, it's kind of like you're not worried about fitting in anymore, for you're more concerned about showing up as who you are. This is what it means to be a godling. Showing up as who you are. with all of your kindness, your goodness, your creativity, your strength. And it is so nice to have Godling friends with whom you can be who you are and welcome them to be who they are. A community of loving, kind, pure, God-centered souls. That was the original intention that is now occurring here on the planet. And you are a conscious part of it. It is exciting. Our last point. So if someone says to you, what have you been up to lately? Would you dare to say that you have decided to take your rightful place as co-creator of the universe? That, in fact, is what you've been up to. And it would be fun to say it. Just fun to say it. Maybe just say it out loud to yourself. I have decided but to take my rightful place as conscious creator of the universe. Just feels good saying that every once in a while. But don't delude yourself. Don't say it unless you can verify it. Oh yes, I create the good, the beautiful, and the holy. You might want to tell that to your friends. That's what I've been up to lately. I've been creating the good, the beautiful, and the holy. And perhaps just then say to yourself, because I decided to take my rightful place as co-creator of the universe. Return now to the rhythm of your breathing. Would you notice how good you feel? Just feel good. Would you say to yourself, I like myself this way. I like myself this way. It's the way I want to be. I think it's true, a little more of a Godling than an Earthling. That seems to be summing up what's occurring more and more. And just when you're ready now, bring your attention back into the room, into your body persona, just opening up its eyes and allowing the purity of your wonderful self to shine through.